Hello everyone, this is a tutorial in time block scheduling. I'm recording this video on a weekend at home, so if you hear any background sound, just try to ignore it. I'm going to keep this concise and I will try to make it as clear as possible. Please jot down any questions that you have during this video. This video is an attempt to give you an idea of how you can plan next week, every week actually, but it's an attempt to build your skills for student success. Now, the first step in time block scheduling is to get a planning sheet and sit down before the week begins. So you may choose to sit down for half an hour to an hour on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday before the following week begins. A planning sheet is something that is similar to this. I'm using this one and I'm providing this for you to print and also to upload electronically as an Excel sheet. And basically what it is a Sunday through Saturday schedule, starting at 12 a.m. and ending at 11 p.m. So that's the first step. I also like to physically print it out when I'm doing this exercise, and I get a pencil. The second step is to figure out what your weekly inventory is. And when I say weekly inventory, I'm thinking about all of the responsibilities that you have for next week. And I want you to think about your weekly inventory in times of categories and the amount of time that each category is going to take next week. The best way for me to show this to you is to show you my weekly inventory for next week. My weekly inventory consists of academic work and it consists of triathlon training. My academic work is my profession. It's my main work responsibility and it's divided into teaching, research, and service. I've tried to break these categories down based on hours. So for my work, I divide my 40-hour work week into 20 hours connected to teaching, approximately 12 hours connected to research, and approximately 8 hours connected to service. Teaching consists for me of office hours, in-class time for my in-person class, prep time for all my classes, and grading time for all my classes. Now every week, the hours that I've assigned to all of these categories will slightly change, but I'm beginning with these specific hours. My research consists of reading and writing, and I've allotted 12 hours to that for next week. And service is university service and service to my department, which generally consists of meetings and computer work to follow up on those meetings. So I've allotted 8 hours to that. Now, triathlon training is what I do that brings me joy. It's what I love. It's part of who I am. I race triathlon as an amateur athlete and I enjoy the training. So that's just what I do. But in order to get it done, I have to schedule it. And for next week, I have 12 hours of training. So that has to go into my schedule. I work with a coach that provides a schedule for me based on his expertise of the sport. So I have the hours every day that I'm training for triathlon. Okay, so what this means for you is to take into account what academic work you have for the week. And I don't know if you know this, but for every unit that you take at the university, you should be scheduling 3 hours per unit. So if you're taking a 3-unit class, that means you have 15 hours to to schedule in for that class for next week. If you're taking 5 courses, 15 units, you need to schedule 45 hours for next week. So that's an important point to keep in mind. I want you to all be aware of what you're signing up for, especially if you have other responsibilities, such as a part-time job. How many hours a week does your part-time job consist of next week? Other responsibilities and other joys, like let's say you are involved in extracurricular activities, such as I am. I'm involved in triathlon training and racing. What is yours? How many hours a week do you dedicate to that? Whether it's baile folklorico, whether it's activist work, whether it's a student debate camp, whatever it is, I want you to have a realistic idea of how much time it's going to take you next week. Okay, now we're ready for step 3. Step 3 consists of plugging in your hours on the planning sheet. Now, step 3 is the most time consuming and it may take a little moving around. I like to use a pencil because it's like a jigsaw puzzle trying to figure out what you're going to plug in for each day and how you're going to spread out your hours for the week. So I went ahead and did mine ahead of time. If I did it in front of you, this video would be way too long. So I took this sheet and basically converted it into this. So what I did was I took all of the hours and I divided it into increments based on each day. Now, some of them are really easy because for teaching, there's just certain times that I have to be in class. For example, this semester I'm teaching from 11:30 to 12:45. So it was really easy for me to schedule in class time, and in parentheses I wrote the amount of hours. It's approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes, a little less, but by the time I speak to students after class and get back to my office, it's been 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I teach in person Monday and Wednesday. I also have scheduled office hours Monday and Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. So each of those is an hour. I also schedule office hours by appointment, by the way, but that's beside the point right now. Then it's my goal to schedule in all of the remaining hours. So for example, on Monday, I go into my office at 9 a.m. I will prep for 1 hour. I've jotted that down. After office hours, after class, I will prep for 3 more hours until 4. And then from 4 to 5, I will work on service work for 1 hour. I've done the same thing for every day of the week. Now, I have certain priorities, and we all have different priorities. Aside from being an academic and an athlete, I'm a mom. So that means when my son comes home at 5 p.m., I am done for the day with my academic work. That's how I'm choosing to schedule my life, and I'm very grateful I have that flexibility after many years of working and trying to figure out how to get my degrees and become an academic. What I love most about it is that I have a flexible schedule, but it doesn't mean that I have any more hours than anyone else. Everything takes time. And when my son comes home at 5 p.m. after he's been in daycare for 9 hours, I want to be as present as I can for him. So that means not working when I'm at home. It means playing with him. And you can see that Tuesday and Thursday, I am responsible for dinner, which I have a very supportive partner that takes care of dinner most every other night, but I want to plug that into my calendar so I can be aware of it. Another part of my priority is my son is at home on the weekends. He's not in daycare, so I try not to overschedule on the weekends. I'd rather have a tight schedule Monday through Friday than do academic work on Saturdays and Sundays. So you can see that my Monday through Friday is super tight. And I prefer it that way because that means I have flexibility on the weekends for longer training sessions for triathlon, and most importantly for family time and downtown and obligations such as domestic work. I've got to do laundry. I've got to go shopping for food. I need to take a nap. I'm a human being, so the weekends gives me a little more flexibility for all of that, and especially to spend time with my son. So where does the rest of those triathlon training hours come in? Before academic work. So if you can see, I am scheduling most of my triathlon training in the early mornings from about 6 to 7. Some trainings are longer than others. If I am training at 6 a.m., that means I need to wake up at about 5 a.m. in order to give myself time to wake up, have coffee, have something to eat, get to the gym, and for example on Mondays, get to the pool and start swimming by 6. In order to make that happen, I need to think about what time I'm gonna go to bed because I function best if I get about 8 hours of sleep a night. And I know this about myself, and it's true about most human beings. So in order for me to wake up at 5, I'm going to have to go to sleep by 9 p.m., which means I'm going to have dinner by about 6 p.m. So this is 9 right here. I don't schedule anything after 9. So the very last step, would be to block out your sleep time. What time are you going to go to sleep each night? And block it out. My magical hour, my goal is to be in bed falling asleep at about 9 p.m. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge for probably anyone. And it's a challenge for me because I have a toddler who doesn't really want to go to sleep at 9 p.m. So I have to start thinking about bedtime at least an hour prior to that. Start winding down, make sure all the electronics get turned off, get into a routine. That's just my life and my reality, and I prefer it that way. I've also blocked out sleep time up here because between midnight and 5 a.m., hopefully I am sleeping, resting, recuperating so that I can tackle the rest of my schedule for the rest of the day. I want you to do this in practice. Remember, 3 hours, to schedule 3 hours per week for every unit that you're taking. Think about the other responsibilities in your life, and if you have any questions, let me know. That's the end of this tutorial.